Stand by, everybody. I'm getting some new information over the scanner. We've got some swift water rescues going on in parts of Patrick County at this hour. They've just dispatched some of that out. I believe we are live on all platforms, hopefully. Let me check real fast. Okay, yeah, we got 214 on there, so that's a good thing. Wanted to get right to it, folks. We've got a busy radar here, and you can see that we do have numerous flash flood warnings in effect across Southside. Now, this is a very serious situation because we have ongoing flooding reports coming in. We've seen a redevelopment of storms tonight, and if you were following me on Patreon, you knew this was a possibility. So I'll put this radar into motion, and you can see the satellite won't move here, but you'll see the radar start to load. Everything's moving out of the southwest to the northeast, but it's very, very slow. We've had reports earlier of, and I'll kind of move the picture up here for Carroll County. We had Highway 52 covered and impassable in spots with several feet of water flowing over 52 between Hillsville and Fancy Gap. Now, I've been listening on the scanner traffic. Some of that has lessened because the rain's moved out of that area. But you can see all of the flooding, 1 to 2 feet of floodwaters in Hillsville. A couple of locations near small streams are inundated by heavier rainfall. Numerous roadways are impassable or were impassable a short time ago in Carroll County. Same thing as you get closer into Patrick County. Parts of the Blue Ridge Parkway between Fancy Gap and Meadows, floodwater flowing across it, and some of that could be landslide activity. Sometimes you see that up on the parkway as well. The intersection of Bear Trail and Wards Gap Road near a small stream completely blocked by rising water. And where you see this very, very red activity here, this is just torrential rainfall that's coming down on the order of 3 to 4 inches per hour. So right now the scanner traffic is really lighting up across Patrick County and across Henry County. And we've got more activity that I don't want to leave you guys out of in Mercer County and Giles County. There is the general idea that what we're seeing is an increase in coverage from Giles County to Montgomery County. We've already had flooding reported by yours truly in Franklin County and Rocky Mount. It's raining again here, but not quite the heavy rain that we're getting down in Henry County and in Martinsville. This is what's causing it. We've got an upper level disturbance that's still way off to the west, and until this thing moves through, all of this moisture is moving up into the area. You can see that there in green, and we've got numerous little waves of moisture within that. As we go through the rest of tonight, you can see that the radar shows everything kind of lit up here over the next couple of hours, and hopefully things will start to die off as we get later into the day tomorrow. But let me show you the high resolution radar, and I do want to show you a couple of things here. These are our active flood warnings down across Martinsville, Axton, parts of western Pennsylvania County, also going into Hillsville and parts of western Patrick County into Carroll County. Now look at some of these rainfall totals, and I'm going to put my inspector total on here. This is since the rain started. We've got right there on 58 there, almost 8.5 to 9 inches of rain, and even over 9 inches of rain between Hillsville and Red Hill. That occurred earlier this evening, and so that's why we had the flooding reports there. So this ground cannot take any more water. Luckily, the rain's moved out of the area, but what's good for Hillsville is going to be bad for Stewart and is bad for Patrick County as we speak, because these numbers are going to be growing probably on the order of 2 to 4 inches an hour as well. But between Laurel Fork there and parts of Clawville, Dobbins, and Stewart here, we've got 6 to 7 inches of rain, locally 8, and a lot of reports of flooding right there on, let's see what that road is. Looks like Route 670, Route 6 91 near the Parkway again, seeing a lot of runoff. And you got to remember, there's a lot of topography here as you come up Patrick County up 58 here and go past Lover's Leap there. So this is going to run off and cause some big problems. Now, I just heard some of the scanner traffic. We really can't take that as really official stuff, although when it's a situation like this, I tend to just go ahead and broadcast it. They are deploying the swiftwater rescue teams to parts of Patrick County right now. They just toned for that, and the reason is it's pouring down rain and the water continues to rise. You can see there's an upward tick in this. Just an hour ago, we had a few storms around Hillsville, had a couple of flood advisories out right through here, and then as the evening went on, just in the past hour, we've seen that shift across Henry County and Martinsville, even into Pennsylvania County, parts of North Carolina, and now into the New River Valley. So this is a new area of rain. Now look at the loop. It's not moving all that much. Now the individual cells that are blowing off the top of this, they're moving at about 15 miles per hour. But if you look at the actual red arrows, or the red areas here around Stewart, going into Martinsville and Ridgeway, this is the kind of rain that does the flooding. And so that's why you've got all these polygons in effect here. And I'll go ahead and read you some of these flash flood warnings. Flood warning in effect for southwestern Henry County, Patrick County until 3:30 a.m. So we've got several hours to go between these flood warnings, and you can see them there on your screen there as well. I thought I had the times up there. Let me check that out real quick. Hold on one second. Let's see. We'll put our options on. All these are flash flood warnings, though. So this is the area where you're watching, and these are thunderstorms. They're producing a lot of rain. I don't want to forget about Ironto and Elliston going into parts of southeast Montgomery County as well. This storm's actually moving closer into southwest Roanoke County, where they've already had a lot of rain around Cave Spring and Clearbrook today. And of course, any rain on top of what we got in Franklin County isn't good as well. Got another flood advisory in the blue there for Mercer County, West Virginia, and Giles County until 1 o'clock. Flash flood warning for Martinsville, Henry, Pennsylvania County till 3:30. The one off to the west is in effect until 2:15 for Carroll, Floyd, and Patrick. We've got another flash flood warning in effect for until 3:30 as well. And then the one out toward Carroll County is in effect until 12:45. So wherever you are in this area, it's going to continue to flood. You're going to have a lot of runoff. You first see it mainly on the side roads and on the typical low spots. And then as the water runs off into the streams and creeks, it starts to come up really fast. The problem is the duration. And now I've got my times up there on the screen. As you see the radar, we're going to update that for you live as we continue the live stream here. So until 3:30. So we've got some time to watch this. And I will say from experience, this area does flood a lot between Henry County, Bassett Forks, going into Patrick County because of topography issues. It's the foothills, and it's just a lot of pavement. You've got 220 and Collinsville and all the bypass there. That basically goes down into a low spot. There are several low spots in Henry County and in Martinsville, in and around Martinsville, and even on 58 in the Patrick County, where the water is basically already high, but then it encounters the terrain. And you can see some of that terrain here on my topography there. As I zoom in here, you can see some of that steep terrain that would funnel that water into a very narrow channel. That's going to make the water that much deeper, and it's going to make it that much faster as well, as it's kind of coming in between a shorter pathway, so it applies more pressure to the water. And it's something you don't want to mess around with. I just heard a firefighter talking to one of his other team members, I guess, out of the Patrick County area. It may have been out of Henry County, but it's somewhere in this area. He said, be very, very careful, because the lady thought there was a trapped lady. They were trying to get her out. She thought she could make it across, but he said, listen, this is going to come up really fast. You can tell he's experienced with this. It only takes about 6 inches of water to knock a person off their feet, and flow them downstream, and a lot of times they'll drown from that. So you don't want to take any chances. That's why the swiftwater teams are being deployed. It would not surprise me if we get some mutual aid calls from Franklin County and surrounding areas as well to this one area tonight because of the rate of the rainfall that's coming down. So these storms continue to push off to the northeast, and pretty good soaking as well for Rocky Mount. Wondering about Lynchburg maybe with time tonight. We'll see. You haven't been hit too hard so far. Also in the Giles County and again in Montgomery County here to the Shawsville area, just to the south of Shawsville. Very heavy rainfall here, and now this has me a little bit concerned for the Roanoke River Basin because some of this is going to feed down into it. So it's a bad situation. Hopefully it gets a little bit better tomorrow. I do want to show you some of these rainfall rates that we're seeing. I now have the ability to pop up multiple instances of the same program. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking into the technology I've got. I can look at the actual rainfall rates. So this is the big storyteller. This is taking out the light rainfall and it's highlighting where we're seeing per hour how much rain is falling. So like if you go across Franklin County, it's close to about a half an inch an hour, not too bad, but you can go right up the road and it's raining at over an inch an hour. Once you get to about an inch an hour, you start to see some pretty good flooding, or bad flooding if you want to put it in this case. When you get into the blues here, around horse pasture there, notice it's a very small area, but if you're in that area, that's 3.1 inches of rain in an hour. You can go down here into Henry County, just north of 58, and you can see that we've got right near 3.5 inches of rain per hour there. And we've had some 4, and look at this. See if I can get it back there. 4.6 inches of rain in an hour. Now, 5 inches of rain an hour, that's almost unheard of. I mean, you're getting basically an inch of rain every 10 or 11 minutes, which is crazy. So I don't care how dry your ground is, it's not going to be able to pick that up. And that water is going to run off very, very quickly. The fact that I've got lightning on here is also showing you that we've got this in thunderstorm form. In other words, it's not just rain. This is convection. And so what it does, when you see a lot of lightning jumping around here in the Patrick County, that is showing us that there's a lot of lift in the air. The air is rising very quickly. And when it does that, it'll squeeze out the moisture. It's like taking a sponge, and instead of applying a very concentrated but weak squeeze to it, we're taking it and we're really mashing it to the point of 10 times as much as we would normally mash that sponge in that one spot, and that really gets those rainfall rates up. So the lightning's going to correlate with the rainfall rates in many cases, and this updates every few minutes. So we'll continue to go on in here and look at southwest parts of Patrick County. You need to be getting the higher ground. Again, we've got flash flood warnings already in effect, and hopefully your cell phones are going off. 5 inches of rain in an hour. Some of the most prolific flash flooding we've seen, and this includes the stuff that we've had across West Virginia for the past 5 or 6 years, came from rainfall rates like this. We're seeing more of it nowadays. I won't get into a political discussion here, but I will tell folks that, folks are asking me, why can't we control the flooding? Well, we have to get the rainfall rates down. That's one of the problems. As much as we try to mitigate it, when it rains this hard, that water has nowhere to go except the easiest, lowest point, and it will do that until that lowest point fills up, and then it'll flood somewhere else. So it may start flooding down here across southern Patrick County into Henry County, going through Martinsville and north of Ridgeway here near Axton and north of Horse Pasture. It may be flooding in places where you've never seen it flood before if it continues raining at that rate. So let me pull up here. Let's see, this is the latest high-res radar. I'm going to put this in motion so we can see some of the lightning here. There is a weak area of low pressure coming out of Mount Airy that has energized this area here. So it's pulling in the rain from Greensboro, the Wentworth, and the Danville and Martinsville. By the way, if you're watching this, please share this out, but also keep in mind that this may be delayed when you see it. So keep in mind that the radar may have changed. Go to my Twitter page at twitter.com/Jamie Singleton, and the warnings and the alerts will be auto posting. What I'm seeing is a trend for heavier rainfall up the I-81 corridor, and I am listening into your scanner traffic from Blacksburg to Montgomery County into Floyd County as well. Starting to hear some reports of roads being closed and washed out there just because it's raining just so hard and so heavily in that very short amount of time. But right now the concern is southern Franklin County from Snow Creek to Figgsboro down through Martinsville and especially the Bassett Forks area. I get really concerned when I see it raining that hard here. Again, we've had cases before where we've had feet of water around the Walmart there in Martinsville at the bottom of the hill, and a lot of times people they know not to drive in flooded roadways, but what happens is the water comes up so fast that they're driving and it's not a flooded roadway, but because it's raining at 5 inches an hour, before they know it, they're in the water. And I actually had that happen to me back in 2018. I went down here to Bassett Forks and it was flooding kind of like it was now. And I was first on the scene, helped get a guy out of the water, helped block off 220 so nobody would hit me because I didn't know if traffic even knew there was water ahead. It was right there at the Nelson place here, right before you get to Oak Level in Stanleytown. Anyway, what happened is I parked my car far enough away from the rising water, I thought. I got the guy out of the car. We got him out of the water, started drying him off. I looked behind me, and the water was already coming up around the wheels of my car. Just in that 60 to 90 seconds, that's how fast the water will come up in situations like this. Now, also, just something to mention. You see the greens and the blues, and you say, okay, that's the light to moderate rain. You see the yellows and the oranges and the reds, that's the heavy rain, right? Well, this scale here on the side is called the DBZ scale. That's what radar uses. And it is not a linear scale. In other words, it's kind of like the Richter scale in that the red is not as twice as bad as the green. The red is actually 7 or 8 times as bad as the green. And then once you get into the darker red, it's even more than that. So the brighter the colors are here, the heavier the rainfall, it's exponentially heavier than some of the lighter rain. So once you get into these areas, and I can kind of pick them out by showing you this product, the product that kind of shows you the purples and especially the blues and the greens, those are the areas where it's raining at about 4 to 5 inches per hour from Sandy Ridge and the Spencer. It looks at what the beam is doing when it hits the rain. It'll bend the beam, and the radar can compute that bend and show us where it's probably raining the highest. That's where that rainfall rate product comes from. But you can see right now from Chatmosson to Martinsville, that's the heavy stuff. Notice the lightning jump there near Axton. Axton experiencing some major flash flooding here very soon. And Brosville, you're also in this official flash flood warning until 3:30. I'll read you the entire text of that. Till 3:30 at 9:24, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing flooding rains between half an inch and inch and a half of rain's already fallen. And again, this was a little while ago. They probably had another inch to an inch and a half, and they're forecasting, the Weather Service, up to 3 more inches of rain possible in the warned area. So some people are going to see maybe 6 inches of rain before 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 in the morning. Now, we'll hope that nothing develops out here, but honestly, on the bigger picture, we do have more rain in the forecast. So let me show you kind of the whole area, and you can see where the activity is focusing. It is getting closer back into the Roanoke Valley, so we're going to have to watch Roanoke tonight. We may have to watch Lynchburg as well. Franklin County got worked over pretty hard today with those very heavy rainfall rates, but this is certainly going to kind of keep the ground wet as we see the moderate rain occurring here. But this little trough, there's a brown line here that's kind of converging all that moisture, and it is moving in the southern Franklin County as well, but it's coming out of Wentworth and Greensboro, so I don't want to forget folks around Roxborough, the Durham, the Eden, Halifax, and Charlotte Courthouse as well. This glob of moisture will continue only gradually moving up to the north and to the east. If you look at the steering winds aloft, and there you see another look at the warnings, and there's a latest look at the radar. But if you look at the steering winds aloft with this, they're only blowing at about 5 to 15 miles per hour max. Right now, I think we're at about 5 miles per hour in the Roanoke Valley area and surrounding areas, maybe up to 15 knots here off to the west. But most locations in our area are only seeing things move at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. That is not a good thing, because that's not a lot of movement with these thunderstorms. And you see that a lot in August when the jet stream gets weaker and we don't see as much movement like we do in the springtime when we've got a lot of wind energy to work with. I am monitoring some of the water levels across the area. I was looking at Blackwater earlier, and it did come up. It's up to 4 feet. Action stage in Franklin County would be at around 9 feet, but certainly some rapid rises out there. None of the gauges right now are in flood stage. There is one at the Smith River that is near flood stage, but they were up quite a bit ago, just a few days ago now. They're back up into action stage there. That's above the hydroelectric plant there, so that's related to the dam there, I believe. Power outages are also an issue, and you get road closures. Sometimes you get trees that fall down, the ground gets soggy. A lot of people are having accidents out there. There's a lot going on. You can see in Carroll County, we've got about 103 without power, and a handful without power in Franklin County and Bedford County. We kind of expect that with flooding. You don't really get a lot of power outages, but you can once the ground starts giving way. And just to show you how much water we have in the atmosphere, if you look at what we call precipitable water, if we took a column of air above our heads and wrung it all out, how much water will we get? And we've got values between 1.5 inches and 2 inches of rain in the air above our heads. So when it's that high, and when you get some low wind, you get a lot of light wind blowing, so not a lot of wind to blow this stuff around. Jet stream's fairly weak. You get some lift from the jet stream. It's showing up there in purple, and you just got a ton of moisture. I'll show it to you here on the mixing ratio. I know this is getting technical, but look how the winds are coming in from North Carolina. They're coming in out of the southeast, and they're converging right over our area. If you look at the New River Valley, the winds are coming in out of the southwest, and so when those winds hit each other, it forces the air upward even more. And so on top of the fact that the air is so buoyant and warm, we also have the fact that it's somewhat unstable. We've got some wind shear out there. We've got some CAPE, some energy for these storms to work with. And it's not a good situation into the rest of tonight. So again, we're seeing numerous reports of flooding across the area. I'm going to go back now and see the rainfall estimates and see if I can't put you a more exact some of these reports that are coming in. I mentioned Ferrum earlier. I had this on my Patreon page, but we'll go into southwest Franklin County because the Pig River comes from part of this area there. And you see 5 Mile Mountain just to the north there, but we had right on the border about 7.64 inches of rain now. And some locations probably closer to 8. The radar tends to underdo tropical rain like this. We also had another bullseye from Wirtz Road, just north of Rocky Mount. You saw my live shot from the typical flooding spot there at the Sheets, but between 2 and 3 inches of rain there. Southern Roanoke County has had right there southwest of Cave Spring. It always seems to flood in Clearbrook. Nothing like what we had with Michael a few years ago, but 3 inches of rain there. And we are starting to see now it pile up around Pearisburg, up to 2 to 3 inches of rain here. Blacksburg's got about 2 inches of rain. And it's not as much the totals as it is the rain rates that are starting to come down. And now we're starting to see around Axton. This is new updated information. It looks like we've seen between 4 and maybe 4.5 inches of rain there right on 58. So a horrible, horrible time driving on 58, and I would not want to be in that. But what I'm really concerned about is where this water here is going to go out of Carroll County. You've got amounts closing in on 10 inches in just the past, over the weekend probably. It's more like a 3-day total, but the vast majority of this occurred within the past few hours. That's the type of rainfall that will kill you if you're not careful. And I don't want to I don't mean to be dramatic, but that's the type of stuff that we're talking about here. I've got radar scope on here, and I believe I can do this. Let's see. This is showing me 1 hour rainfall rates on the right, and on the left we are looking at a composite image of all the layers of the radar. So we're looking aloft and we're looking at the ground, and we're compressing it down to one single image. So what I'm going to do, see if I can find my mouse. Okay, I'm going to try. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to try to inspect this. I did not want to do that. All right, hold the phone. Let me get my bearings here. Okay. Can't see my mouse on my monitor over here, but I can still use it. This computer. So this is going to show me the 1 hour rainfall rate on the right. So you can see right there around Martinsville. So if I go over and we look at this, we can see that we've got rainfall rates in the 1 hour category of 1.71 inches, estimated by the actual radar itself, 2.38 inches, still falling. So every 10 minutes that go by, we're adding a ½ inch to an inch of rain at least. And in some of these extreme cases, we are adding more than that. Sometimes when we're approaching 4 inches of rain, we're adding 1 to 3 inches of rain every 30 minutes or so. And we even had up to 5 inches of rain in some of this activity that you're seeing here on your screen. So this activity from Stewart to Ridgeway, even Ferrum and Oak level, that's some pretty moderate rain aloft. But if you look at the actual rate of rain, it is definitely picking up here into the North Carolina state line, and that's definitely something that I am very, very concerned about. So let's show you the bigger picture here, if it'll pop up here. I've got so many windows open. I think I've got, if I do an NDI and change this to this tower. Okay, so this is my my other source across the room, but this gives you an idea of what's going on. So you've got a front up here to the north, but you've got all of this moisture that is still well in advance. Until this front out here moves through Indianapolis, you can see it's drying out around Fort Wayne, Peoria, and Chicago. Until this front in Louisville moves through, we still have a chance overnight tonight of seeing more of this develop. Now it looks like that low right there between Roanoke and Charlotte is hogging the moisture, and it's also focusing the moisture right across Southside and that North Carolina state line. My advice for you would be, if you're an early riser and you have to be up early in the morning, or if you're going to be venturing out, you have to do it, just be extremely careful. If you see water, expect to see water. Let me put it that way, because I was on scene today in Rocky Mount. Someone behind me did not expect to see that typical Sheets area flooding. So they weren't speeding, they were going normal speed, but they had to slam on their brakes, and I was out there where the water was. If I hadn't have been there, I think the poor gentleman would have went right into the water at full steam, and that water would have carried him away, because it was about a little over a foot deep, and that's all you need. You've got 4 inner tubes, if you think about it, on your SUV, no matter what it is. It's going to float, and it only takes, again, up to maybe 6 to 18 inches of moving water to knock you off your feet and to knock your car on down the creek. And even your big SUV or your big old truck is no match for water. It's like being hit by a solid object. There's a lot of power in moving water, and there's a lot of moisture out here. These are the wind barbs here coming out of the south. You can see the lightning is glowing in West Virginia. They've going to have some flooding problems again up around Charleston. I'm particularly concerned with Southside, but I'm also watching West Virginia as that activity continues to move in. And I'll also show you here on my other source. This is my Gibson Ridge software, GR Earth, and this is showing you where the rainfall has been over the past 12 hours. And again, this kind of gives you an idea of what we've been seeing. So you can see the hot spots here: northern Carroll County coming out of 58, 52 and up I-77, right there in the Patrick County. Ongoing issues with flash flooding, water rescues in place. We had some heavier rain earlier in 3 spots through Franklin County. One long strip there from Pinhook to north of Rocky Mountain Redwood up to about Wirtz and up to Bethlehem Road. And near Boone's Mill, and also in the Clearbrook and Roanoke County. And now the new areas here going from Martinsville into Danville. Now, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you already knew that Danville and Martinsville were in the track potentially to see more of this rain. And we also were noting activity around Galax. So this was a situation on Patreon where I can show you, sometimes I'll show 9 or 10 models. I picked out the best one that I thought would explain everything, and it ended up working out for tonight. So hopefully folks on my Patreon for $1 a month, that dollar was worth it if you were able to save your life there. Lexington got hit hard today. We also had reports of up to 4 inches of rain from Charlottesville into Nelson County. Ironically, this was the area that got hit so hard by Hurricane Camille just a few days ago, and back in 1969. Nothing like that tonight, but rushing water is still rushing water, and we still had numerous reports of several feet of water covering major roads up here. So Charlottesville, Nelson County got hit hard up to Culpeper. Stanton not quite as much, but once you got to Waynesboro and Charlottesville, went a little bit farther down 64, that conglomeration of storms earlier this morning really did the trick. And again, we continue adding in real time. We're continuing to add rainfall to this. Again, you can see the heavier cells that are going on, and certainly a lot of activity there. By the way, the blue area, that's where I'm watching rotation. We don't have a lot of that, so not particularly concerned with that, but the rainfall is the huge deal. I can show you some eye flows here that haven't been too awful impressive. I'm actually going to check what National Weather Service chat there as well. I've got a report out of Carroll County at 8:56 from law enforcement, or that was a train spotter. Several confirmed reports of numerous roadways made impassable by 1 to 2 feet of water in Hillsville, inundated by heavier rainfall. Looking at another storm report out of Fancy Gap, again, Wards Gap Road was completely flooded and blocked by water. And again, the water continues just to come down in buckets here. Just some very heavy rainfall. And again, some of that heavier rain is now making it back into Franklin County, which has me a bit concerned. I think Rocky Mount might be okay, but as long as we don't see this really deep red develop here. So to recap, we've got flash flood warnings in effect for Carroll County into parts of southern Floyd County, rest of Carroll County, into most of Patrick County and most of Henry County until 3:30 in the morning. And we've had reports again that are pretty ominous out there, showing us where we've seen just way too much water there covering several roadways. And then, we have anything else develop behind this tonight, that's the concern. That was my concern. That's why I told folks at Rocky Mount, I said, we're going to get a little bit of a break, but by 8 or 9 o'clock, we could see things refire. So this is our 3rd round of storms, if you're keeping track, and they are storms. We've got flood advisories up in Giles County and West Virginia, seeing a lot of lightning, so there's still a lot of lift in the air. And the reason is, if I pop this on, this is underneath the amount of storm energy that we still have to deal with. So this is a mixed layer, most unstable cape. It's a combination of temperature and moisture. And basically where you see these higher values at 500 or above, and right now we're around 1,500 to 1,000, And even back here in the West Virginia, some of this undisturbed air up here around 2500 Cape, feeding some of this convection here. And look at all that lightning. That's why you're seeing that north of Charleston. You may be seeing that in the distance here from Ridgewood and the Lewisburg to your north and to your northwest. You can see lightning quite a ways away, but that continues to occur. And now I also look, when we get in these situations, I look down toward Johnson City, the edge of the radar scope, and I say, okay, Jamie, what do you see? Do you see any trends here? And I don't see any weakening, but I do see these storms kind of hanging on. So there are going to be some areas that continue to see rain tonight. I do think it may shift closer into maybe Farmville, South Hill, Danville. I think you need to watch out. Now let's watch live as this latest scan comes in. The delay we get here with our technology is about 10 seconds or less. See it there at about 4 seconds. That new scan just came in. And so you can see that one area there that's nearing Franklin County, that's some very heavy rainfall that's just moving into the western half of Cohays County. That will likely drain down into Floyd and into the New River. But the divide there sits with the Parkway. And so anything that falls back into Franklin County now is going to go back into the Blackwater and back into the Pig if we see anything redevelop here. It looks like we are seeing a lessening of the rainfall rates down across where we've already got the warnings in effect. But they stay in effect because it takes time for the water to recede. It'll drop fast in some locations, but the major rivers and tributaries will still run pretty high out there. And that can catch folks off guard because let's say you lived in Madison, North Carolina, and you were going to take a trip to Eden later tonight, and you didn't know. You didn't know it was raining that hard in Ridgeway and Eden. So you got in your car and you said, I got about 1/10 of an inch of rain. You get up here and it's rained about 4 to 5 inches an hour. You're going to have some different roadway conditions. You're going to have some trees and debris blocking the road at least. You may still have some water and mud covering the road. And so that continues to be something that you want to watch for as you're venturing out tonight. I would not advise it unless you absolutely had to. This is some serious rain, and again, it's covering a big part of the area. Earlier in Fairfield, we had Chapel Road closed due to flooding near the intersection of Kennel Hill Lane. Water likely came from the tributary of the Miller Creek, but you're talking about just a tributary causing a road to close. Not a river, not a stream, just a little itty-bitty tributary or a spring that leads into a river or creek overflowed just because of the quantity of this water and the rate of that rainfall rate. Sterrett Road closed due to flooding. Came from Marlbrook Creek there in Rockbridge County. Also into Livingston, Nelson County. Multiple roads on Front Street reported flooded in Livingston. That was earlier today. And again, just to recap here, haven't got any new reports out of the Axton area, but I am getting them over the scanner, so I know there are some flooding going on here. But just to recap for you here, several flooding reports out of Carroll County, very ominous, from National Weather Service employees actually confirming this, so they're trained at this, noting that spotters also showing Highway 52 there closed as well. If you've got any pictures of that, if it's safe, you can go ahead and send them my way. It'll help the Weather Service and help everybody else on getting this information out. A lot of times we don't know if it's flooding or not for sure unless we see it. Now, we've also got our Virginia Department of Transportation site up here. This is Virginia 511, and this is a good way to kind of tell what back roads may be washed out. They're not going to get them all. I noticed they were a little bit behind tonight. Normally we see a fair amount of clouds on here, and you can see them here clustered into this area near Grundy due to some ongoing flooding issues there. So I think they're running a bit behind tonight, but I am starting to see now, this is new, through Patrick County now, we're starting to get the reports here. So let's move into Carroll County. That's Route 749, County of Carroll, vicinity of Poplar Camp Road, 52. Motorists can expect delays due to a disabled vehicle. Some of these disabled vehicle calls are actually because they were stuck in water in the ditches as well. Weather, Sunnyside Road, Carroll County, Route 675 east and west, vicinity of Fancy Gap Highway, Motorists were expecting delays and still expecting delays as of this hour on 52 due to lane closures in that area. Going on down the road a little bit closer in the past Hillsville, we had another report there of some flooding. If I look at a live camera, it looks like the rain has certainly tapered off and things are moving along okay there on 52 as the water's gone down. But now a new report's just coming in as of 10:04 out of the Stewart area. This is on Route 631 in the county of Patrick in the vicinity of Barnes Lane Road. Route 787 north and south, motorists can expect delays due to weather. Lane closures do exist, and a lot of these fire departments that I'm listening to are saying we need to let VDOT know about this, we need to let state police know about this, and so they're doing their best to get the traffic rerouted, and so you don't have to worry about that. You can't really tell on this camera, but there's some lightning that just popped up there on the camera, the VDOT camera there out of Henry County. That's near the Martinsville area. So it's raining to beat the band in parts of this area, and there's a lot of thunder and lightning that shows us how slow the traffic's moving. Also, you've got hydroplaning going on. You would not believe how many people just stay going the speed limit when there's water on the roadway. You're basically using your car as a boat. There went another lightning strike, as you saw it there. So just a ton of rain falling, and it's going to continue to get worse here in the Martinsville area over the next hour or so. So through about midnight or so, you're going to have a very tough time getting around Martinsville. Here's a different view, again showing you, looks like US 58 there, southeast of Martinsville, just pouring down rain. Also getting into Danville there, you can see some heavier rain and some ponding of water on the roadways there. Lights there kind of blinking, but you can kind of see the water splashing there at the bottom of the screen. I'm kind of looking at this live as you are. I wish we had more cameras in the Franklin County, but it just so happens these cameras are right where we want them right now in terms of looking at Henry County. We need one in Bassett Forks. That's this area right here that floods a lot. We can look at Stanleytown here. I think we were just looking at that. Yeah, that's where the lightning's occurring. And that lightning, again, it's not a good sign. Now, another thing you can look at with this are traffic speeds. So you see where you've got the red. So we may not have an official report coming out of that area, but where we see the red there popping up, that's where Google is getting your phone information, your GPS information, and it's showing us that your traffic's almost at a crawl. So it's either raining very hard or traffic stopped because you've got some flooding in the area. So I do encourage you to venture out on your internet to Virginia 511. You can also see around Henry Fork and the Rocky Mount there, we've got, looks like they're near Regency. Not sure what's going on there, but some very slow traffic. So I'm not sure if we had some water or a tree down or what the deal was there. But just a very, very dangerous night to try to be out and about traveling with all this going on. And we just missed the lightning strike there coming out of the Danville area, as well as it continues to rain. And again, the report's still coming in out of this area. Let's go back to the radar one more time here. Got a new special weather statement in effect for the strength of these storms. So we're starting to see a little bit more oomph with these storms. I told you I was looking at rotation as well. Now the special weather statement's in effect for Martinsville, Wentworth, Magadan, Madison, Stoneville, and Spencer, as well as Ayersville. You need to seek shelter because we've got gusty winds of up to 30 miles per hour, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you combine it with the heavier rainfall, that gives you sheets of rain, lots of lightning. So we just had our cameras there from VDOT providing us with a live look at what's going on. Now we can show you on the radar why that's happening. Now, if you look closely, you can actually see a bit of a swirl. This is non-tornadic, but you can see a little bit of a meso-low that's kind of forming here from Wentworth and the Martinsville and Danbury. That's what's basically pulling the air in and forcing it up. Again, it's all about rising air when we talk about storms, when we talk about snow, when we talk about any kind of severe weather. And the faster that air rises, the more moisture gets wrung out. And of course, we've got a lot of moisture in the air anyway, so we don't need it to rise too fast before we have problems. The fact of the matter is we've got a bunch of both. We've got a bunch of rising air, we've got a bunch of moisture, and we've got a bunch of flooding. as a result. The cell in Franklin County is starting to weaken around Cahay's Mountain, which again isn't surprising. It's more of a solid rain across Franklin County. But in the Roanoke Valley area, looks like the southern end there too is going to maybe bypass the worst of the heaviest rainfall. But I am getting more concerned because I was seeing this while I was posting my Patreon earlier. You've got a few cells up here around Addison, Summersville, out of Marlington, West Virginia, going up 64. It's starting to rain really hard. Notice it wasn't raining when we started this broadcast, and all of a sudden it's popping up here as well. So that tells you that there is some forcing in the atmosphere beyond what the radar is seeing. There's something going on in the jet stream that's pulling that air up, and it still has to get through here. And again, on the edge of the radar scope, you're still seeing new development south of Kingsport. It doesn't look that bad right now, but that was the case with this a few hours ago. It didn't look that bad at 8 o'clock, and now look what we're dealing with. We've got 4 flash flood warnings in effect and swiftwater rescues ongoing. So it's going to be a busy night tonight. This is a very dangerous situation. I'm going to put out a few more posts, and I'll be with you tonight just to make sure things stay as safe as possible. But you need to just never drive across a flooded roadway. If your phone goes off for a flash flood warning and you live somewhere near a creek or stream and you think it can't happen again, it can. It doesn't have anything to do really with how dry your ground's been or when the last time it flooded was or what you think may happen or what you've seen in the past. It has everything to do with the rate of rain that's coming down. It has everything to do with these blotches of yellow and green and blue. Those are 4-inch per hour rainfall rates, and in some cases they are 5-inch per hour rainfall rates that are going to do some major flooding and runoff from Stoneville. That's 220, so folks traveling there, that's a nightmare. You'd have to pull over. Your 220 is going to be flooded just from the fact that there's water coming out of the sky at 5 inches an hour. That's like taking a bucket and just pouring it onto the ground over a fairly large area, south of Price to Stoneville, northwest of Marion, and again Ridgeway. Looks like Laurel Park there near the school. There's a lot of concrete and a lot of low spots here through Henry County, so all those areas are going to be flooding. Now, as I get this, I think I'm getting something out of Patrick County right now. Stand by. Okay, that's a medic call, but I've been watching, been listening very carefully to scanner traffic and making sure that we get as much information in as possible. So the rest of tonight looks busy. Tomorrow, maybe some more scattered storms. I think tomorrow we will have, and again, if you go to my Patreon, patreon.com, Jamie Singleton, you will see that the activity may be a little bit less, but we are going to have still some areas that we're going to have to watch for scattered activity as well. Flash flood warnings up till the late night hours, special weather statements in effect, and again, now near in Boone's Mill and Cahay's Mountain, we've got 1.3 inches an hour occurring, and in parts of Narrows in Giles County, near Mountain Lake here, 3.2 inches of rain in an hour. Also in Monroe County, West Virginia, nearing in on 2 to 3 inches of rain in an hour. And going into, looks like Patrick County has seen the rain diminish, but probably some lingering flooding. I can tell you again from experience, when they put that 330 there, that's not just random. They actually have a program that computes how long it's going to take the water to get back in the banks. And I was down there in 2018 and I waited, I think it said 315 in that particular event. I was stuck because the water was in every S-curve. And at 3:15, they opened the road back up, and the water had just receded. That's how good the warning process is when it comes to hydrology at the National Weather Service. 3.7, 4.6 inches of rain an hour. Just got a report out of Virginia State Police of another flooded road. So, our first responders, we're going to pray for you tonight because they're having to figure out ways to get to people that they normally wouldn't take because some of these roads are flooding. And again, that's a bad thing. So we'll continue to watch this. And again, we'll kind of end you with a look at the overall radar. Let's see if I can pull it up. This is the live look as it's coming in. I'll zoom it back out, and I'm going to put this in motion just so over the past hour so you can see what's been going on here. And again, it's all now shifting closer into Danville, southeast Franklin County, but especially Henry County, Rockingham County, maybe Greensboro. I'd watch Caswell County as well, 86 heading down toward Raleigh-Durham, and I'd also be watching Danville to South Boston tonight. Also watching, again, the Allegheny Highlands to Covington into the Greenbrier Valley. You've got another batch of storms here moving northeast, and there's more activity if you're in the Allegheny Highlands or in the Greenbrier Valley. I know that Summersville and Charleston, this area is not too far away. It is from Roanoke, but not for the folks living up here. So you've got more issues that are occurring here as well. And luckily nothing going on. Well, we've got a few scattered storms down across Kentucky, but right now it's our area that's getting hit the hardest, and hopefully won't have anything like they had in Kentucky. But I'll tell you, it's the same type of rain, same type of rainfall rate. So hopefully it'll scoot through fairly quickly. It's still moving pretty slowly in my opinion, but it is moving. So that's the good news. The bad news is this is the third wave. So hopefully there won't be a fourth wave. But I'm seeing signs, again, of some redevelopment out here. So I'll have to watch it throughout the night tonight because, again, until we get the drier air through here, until we can get on the other side of this storm system, which is right here, we've got to get all the way over here. Got to get this air in Indianapolis to get here. We're going to continue to see and continue to be in the very moist part of the storm system where you see all the lightning and the spikes there and the warnings coming out. So we do have the rest of tonight to go, and I think parts of your Monday could be a bit dicey as well. Although the models don't show it, the meteorology does. And so maybe some drier air moving in a loft, but we could still see some stronger storms, more scattered in fashion for the area tomorrow with this front nearing the area. All right, so go to my Twitter and get signed up there. It's free. You'll get the alerts on your phone. We just got a new special weather statement also for Stokes, Rockingham, Pennsylvania, Henry County until 11:15. That's the one you're looking at there. In Brown, there will likely be some more flood advisories at least issued. And a flood advisory covers this ponding of water on roadways and low spots. A flash flood warning is something you need to really take seriously because that's when the water comes up so fast you don't have time to react. And that's why your phones go off for flash flood warnings and not flood advisories. All right, that's your latest update right now. Meteorologist Jamie Singleton trying to keep you safe. I appreciate the support.